Okay, so this is the third part of our lecture one in relation explaining assignment two, and actually also introducing you to the way in which I think it would be useful to work with module 4 and also module 3. So in assignment 2, you are requested to produce a few words about the rationale that underpins your lesson design. This is not very simple. Um, well, it is simple and it is not simple, so I'm teaching you how to do that. So in order to do this, you will need to integrate some statements that I will produce actually in the lecture too. So I'll do it in a couple of days so that all lectures are finished and you can actually focus on working on working with assignment 2, and basically we'll just focus our discussions on the LearnLine on the discussion board. But then, so a large chunk of it will actually be in the next lecture. But for here, for now, what I wanted to do is basically point you to, I think this is module 3. So what you have in module 3 is particular things that you would need to know about. And they will be reinforced, definitely, they will be reinforced in my next lecture. But the concept of feedback is very important. So what I did in module 3, I produced the article produced written by Hattie and Tipperley on the concept of feedback, and you can see that you've got my comments here. My comment is very simple, that basically in order to actually have a concept of feedback, we need to actually have it embedded in some understanding how the brain works. And for as long as we don't do it, we don't have a concept of feedback. What we have is a guessing game. And that would have been all right some time ago, maybe, I don't know, long time ago, decades ago. But now we know too much, and that this knowledge is no longer just on the outskirts of disciplines. Now it's the mainstream of neuroscience and mainstream of the whole discipline of learning to learn, or understanding how people learn. So some comments I wrote here, I will address it in more detail, maybe most and better probably in the next lecture, but here it is. Then what do we have here? Oh, yes, you don't have to read this thing here. It would be nice for you to actually download it, but if you don't want to read it, then it's fine. Actually, it's not required for assignment 2. What I'm addressing here is this guy Sujata Mitra. He's really cool and hot, and everybody loves him. And he's done amazing things in India with technology. But there's not enough critical thinking in his pedagogy, and that's what me and Amy Norman are actually addressing in our critique. So you can see every article that I provided in this module, I actually have a comment attached to it. So, and that's the sort of way I designed these modules. So briefly, basically, because there's not enough critical thinking there about the design, the module, I mean, his methodology is good, but not good enough. So at this very moment, it is sort of a homeschooling sort of method, and only for the people who actually want to play the game. It's not bad, but it's just a good start, and needs to be rethought. I don't think Sujata Mitra has any background in education. I understood he was a businessman. Please correct me if you want to, or if you find out, but I think he was just a businessman and he got into education by accident. Now he's a professor. So there. Now we have some Vygotsky here. We have Ogerman. You probably have read her already. We have some stuff on neuroscience. How do we learn versus how we think we learn? So that's a video you don't have to watch. Click for paper. Well, it's a complicated paper, but I think I summarized here the principles of learning that this group has actually identified in the video and in the paper. So that will be good. Then there is a lecture by them, I think that video, and then there's some other thing by them. But basically, when it comes with when a link comes with Anya Lyon, that basically means that'd be something maybe worth looking at, especially this one, because this one is about how people learn, right? And it's done by psychologists, not neuroscientists, by psychologists. So the experiments are a little bit different, but it's quite good. I quite like them. And actually Hattie refers to them, to not all of them, a couple of those things. Yeah. Anyway, so you might actually get them all here through this link in module 3 and save them for your own reference or for your own knowing. Chris Sarah, he's now professor in I think it's Chris Sarah is now professor in University of Canberra. So so there's this issue about direct instruction. So there's an article on that issue written by Chris Sarah. So he has a link. And then there's an article published by me and master students. So here's the link here. So if you want to read about direct instruction, I think this article is very, very good. The one that I wrote with the students. And also Chris Sarah's article is very good. On NAPLAN, so I've written here, okay, I collected here things from a book examining NAPLAN and studying it by doing surveys of different groups of people about the testing system. So you have a PowerPoint here with different views. Now, how would you integrate them? How would you integrate them in your own rationale? Well, you probably won't, because you will want to go very quickly through the assignment. But if you didn't want to go very quickly through the assignment, say that the things that I have pointed out to you, whether it's direct instruction basically says that a matter of support for students is a matter of your own clarity. Well, this just means nothing. People used to say it 200 years ago, right? So it's not strong enough argument. It's not based in evidence from any science of learning. Here, when we talk about NAPLAN, how you could integrate the arguments of NAPLAN from this book that I have actually cut and pasted here and included in that PowerPoint in your rationale. In your rationale, the idea basically would be, why is it that teachers are so panicky? What is it about NAPLAN that not only that everyone panics, almost like it would require a separate pedagogy. So teachers go along, and then all of a sudden NAPLAN time comes, and then they all panic and just go into hysteria, and things happen. And also there are comments from teachers, there are comments from students. You might actually look at them and you could actually think and respond in the rationale how you would want to create differentiated and therefore inclusive conditions for learning, so that things like this, things like the ones that happen that I have actually highlighted in that PowerPoint, don't happen. Well, you hardly have a chance to fight NAPLAN today, and NAPLAN is a test for metropolitan urban children, right? It's like, so it will have a vocabulary that someone who was, raised in the middle class and went out with parents to a five-star restaurant in the Hyatt, right? That child can actually respond to a particular question, but someone who just had a regular life might have difficulties with a number of items, like relating to vocabulary and maybe even experiences. So you can't fight it, but you can actually rethink about how to create this expansive, more inclusive learning environment as a result of those responses in that book, collected in that book on the NAPLAN test. Now, this is another text I included here by Peter Freebody. He's very famous, of course. And he talks about the quality in the test, so you might actually want to have a look at it. Now there's here about differentiated learning. So what is it here? It's a link. Okay, so my response to this particular book written by, this is just chapter 1 by Carol Ann Tomlinson. My response is in module 4. Now, early childhood, what is it that we have here? So we have some text. You might actually just browse through them, and there's some comments obviously by me, so that's really good. all that. So this is a text, I think, and this is my comments. And there's some more text here. Just browse through them. This would be a good chapter to read because Professor Silburn is the director of early childhood in he's a director of something to do with early childhood and health, so education and health in Menzies, which is a school of health. And so he produced a book, a chapter in a book where he talks about child development and especially, the understanding about the capacities of a child's brain. Usually we refuse children any capacities, but actually kids actually have lots of brain cells and ready to fire. We just need to make sure that we actually make it possible for those brain cells to actually work as opposed to shut them down in a simple pedagogy. Now, I haven't seen this lecture by me here, the lecture of mine on balanced literacy. So basically, my usual understanding is that balance means nothing. I mean, what are the criteria of balance, right? Typically, the criteria of balance are basically, well, give everyone a voice, everyone, which means a researcher. I just basically think that the researcher is wonderful, but the most important person in your classroom is the student. So you can read a little bit here and that's done. So a few arguments for your rationale for your assignment 2 you might get actually from those readings that I actually pointed out. And now we'll move to module 4, which has a lot. I don't know about the lot, but I tried to put a lot. Sometimes it's difficult for me to decide, so that's why sometimes throughout the year or throughout the semester I might add some things or remove some things because it's really hard for me to prepare 6 modules for the people I have never met and we haven't yet worked together, so I wasn't sure like what to insert, and sometimes I didn't insert everything and sometimes I just too much. So just read this because you have no other text to read, like we have no textbook, so you might as well read that. The summary of reading strategies. Yes, I looked into it and it's not too bad. It's not relevant for our lecture 1, not for today. It will be relevant for lecture 2. But just to cut the long story short and get you out of your misery, so that you actually, if you want to have a look what's in it, so there are some things in it that you will find also a heresy. But that's all right. Everything with me is a heresy. That's because, so for example, so what I'm producing here is just certain thoughts that I don't want you to lose when you actually create your rationale for for assignment 2. So right. So I want you to think of particular things that literacy is a community embedded experience, right? You can't actually do literacy in the four walls of your school and so on. So these are the sort of things I want you to think of. And here reading, it's all about purpose and so on. So these are the sort of summarizing things that you will need to address in your rationale. You should address in your rationale. So I'm basically probing you, saying to you, these things exist. Can you please take a position in relation to these things when you actually identify the rationale behind your lessons? And I would like you to do that. Somewhere here I say something that you probably will find as a heresy, but okay, since I don't know where I'm saying this, I might actually look for it. Yes, see that? Never read to children. I know, it sounds really weird, right? Everybody tells you to read to children. Well, first of all, the people who would read to children are largely the parents of family and so on. So you're not here. So when you work with small children, you're not actually their parent, right? So the idea, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a golden rule, never, ever, ever. But what I'm saying is, especially for this for assignment 2, I wouldn't want, I'm strongly discouraging you from creating a lesson where you will say, the first hour I'll be reading to children. And I'm saying, like, why? So what I will be showing you throughout today and also the next lecture, preparing you for writing the assignment 2, is how you can actually use resources in order to empower children, as opposed to you taking over the whole class, reading to them, and 3 of them or 4 of them or 3/4 of them falling asleep or digging in their noses and being disengaged. The idea is actually that we are in the 21st century. As I mentioned before, we have resources, and kids can actually use resources and technology to solve their problems. You don't have to do it for them. Now, there is this old concept that is floating around. Education is really a constellation. It's like the galaxy, right, of stuff, and it floats. And it has sort of its center somewhere, I don't know where. But the point is, um, it's got a lot of blend in it, stuff that has been floating for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And new stuff is coming in. And because the new stuff is not yet integrated in the old stuff, and maybe that's how it always will be, what happens, you will hear lots of mixed messages. So, for example, when people want you to read to children, they basically believe you should model it. And I'm thinking, like, you're kidding me? How can I, say Anya, model um, reading? Like, reading is not reading. If you want to model anything, you've got to think about it. What is it that you want to model? If reading is actually context bound, then what would you like me to do? To read an indigenous story? Like, how am I going to do that? Or certainly I can sort of, read out the words, but it's not the way to do it. And today we don't have to do it. So, for example, we can have a text read by a child. We can have we can have a text read by the parent. We can have a text read by a whole classroom. We can have a text read by um, characters themselves that actually play out the text. We can, so right, so what I'm just telling you now, that there are resources on YouTube, and if you cannot use YouTube directly in school, you can download them. I'll show you the program. You just get that program on your computer. It's called Castor here. It allows you to download. You click on it. I hope it will work with when I'm actually recording the you see, you record on it. I have here Castor for PC, and you put here a link. You click on download, and the file will be on your computer. And the reason why I'm showing this to you is that you don't have to have always an direct online link. You can actually download those videos with, animated stories, with people reading, with actors reading stories. So basically what children will learn is the difference. Not that they don't have it on TV at home, but your role is actually to sensitize them to help them to actually increasingly consciously uh, to develop their awarenesses, right? So it's not just like you go through life and you kind of develop awarenesses. Your role is actually to make those awarenesses explicit in them. So there's a different way in which a child reads a story, a different way in which a parent reads a story, and the same story when read by an actor will be a different story, right? And it's very important for children to actually be exposed to these differences so that you are not seen and you don't construct yourself in the classroom and don't carry the burden also of having to model everything. That's just stuff from the 19th century where we didn't have these resources. Now you can go on YouTube and actually find different persons modeling the reading for different purposes, right? So the actor will not be reading the way you are reading because, I don't know you, but myself, I would destroy a text, whereas an actor was going to bring it alive and so on. So much about reading. So on the one hand, the modeling idea I am actually not happy about because I think you can't model everything. It's absolute. It's this old stuff that is floating around saying that the teacher is the center. It's actually the community is the center. And what we do, we bring the community into the classroom, and we actually take the classroom into the community. So that's the thing. So that's why I'm saying, so here I wrote, remember you are hardly a model of how text should be read. Right, you can't model everything and so on. So there are some sort of summarizing thoughts about how to about ideas that you should respond to when you actually write your rationale. So we've covered that. So what do we have here? The concept of difference. Um, if anything, you should probably... Okay, so these are some videos about it if you want to watch, or you can just browse very quickly through the PowerPoint. Right, so the idea here is, and we've spoken about it before, that the difference is not like one person is kinesthetic and another person is emotional, and another person is hands-on and another person is abstract. Like, goodness gracious. Education tends to simplify everything. Um, if someone statistically found that tall people that mostly that poets had been tall and skinny, education would turn it into a now paradigm where they would segregate a group of tall and skinny children and they would train them to be poets. You know, like everything is taken so literally. So basically, difference means, you know, we process things differently. We are different. We process things differently. So now what we have to do is to find conditions for expansion and inclusion of differences as opposed to segregating children into our understanding of how they are different, right? So that's just not taking things too literally, but enabling for differences to actually be engaged. So that's this sort of like there. Where could you? This is more like for you to serve as an expansion of your own mind. This sort of introductory section to this module 4. Now, designing units of work, I think you should leave it for another week. Don't touch it today. I know that your fingers are itchy and you would want to start here. I strongly suggest not to. I added this description. I have cut some pieces from the book chapter that I've written with Amy Norman, and I put them here for you to get an article about how to structure things. This is just something we produce for a book. These are some things I produced in December. I'm going to look into it within the next 2 or 3 days and link our assignment 1 with the way how I suggest we think of structuring learning experiences. So if you could actually hold on a little bit, that would be great. I don't remember what's here in the activities. You might look into it next week as well. This is again the thing about feedback that I took probably from module 3. This is an article written in December 2016 by a person from Canada. I don't know how much of it I have included here, I can't remember. But yeah, so it's about problem solving and about supporting higher order thinking skills. And you will see that in a lot of literature that I have seen recently coming out from people who think in very literal terms, children, especially young children, and I actually presented or constructed as unable as basically the critical thinking is discounted, but we're not worrying about that. What we have is we have a curriculum to actually work with, and it has capabilities, so we don't worry about it. But these are the sort of things I stole from module 3 and I put here in. So what we have here is some text. So you can see this is for middle and high school, and primary school and early school is here. So it's a bit below. I've spoken about it on the Collaborate. So please browse through them so you can learn some things about how to contextualize and why to contextualize students' learning experiences. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I have found, I mean, I haven't found, you know, you are all aware of those things. People talk about these things like, you know, strategies for how to comprehend the text, and people come up with, I'll just remove it for a moment, this, summarizing, sequencing, and so on, inferencing, and so on. Yes, these things are there, they're real, but you cannot sequence everything the same way. So that's why I put that those texts here from Cramsh and so on. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have clicked because I don't want to say it. and the thing from Alan Luke and so on, because I want you to actually learn how to think about things like critical thinking or things like how to summarize things. I want you to actually think of them a little bit more critically, right? Because you summarize things differently for a news. If your students are writing a review of movies, right, for the website, for the school website, so obviously they will write in a specific way that is kind of expected now to reflect a summary of a movie or a review of a movie. But when they are with a friend and the friend says in a coffee shop, "Hey mate, how was the movie?" And if you didn't like the movie, you know how you would summarize it, right? And you would do it probably in 1 or 2 words. And that would be also a correct way to do so, but different than if you do something for a website for a school. Now, if you want to summarize, maybe not a movie, but if you want to summarize a story, now there's no one way to summarize a story. It depends what purpose you want to actually reflect through your summary. So you can see that what I'm trying to point to you is that a lot of times these things are there on, in your resources and so on, or online, and they are taught to you, but these are the sort of things that the skills, yes, they are the skills, but there's no one way to summarize things. There's no one way to inference, and I will be teaching you about inferencing. And there's no one way of doing anything. And what I have seen sometimes, students thinking that these skills would be the pathways to teach children read. So people would say, well, I gave a children, this is what I get sometimes from students in this unit, well, like those who didn't do the work, I gave them a text and I asked them to summarize, and that was my way of teaching them to read. Like as if there was no step between you giving them a text and your request for them to summarize. Like, how are they going to summarize and for what purpose, right? So I strongly discourage you from doing this. And we were learning, anyway, forget about this one because it's not for today. We will do these things next time. So what is it that we did? What I wanted you to look at, I want you to actually download these files. I would like you to definitely read them. Also watch the video, especially this video on actually emotional approaching doing text analysis through emotion. So this is a video, and this is, I think this would be some more resources here. Okay, so what I'm saying here, those resources on reading comprehension will follow a little bit lower, so they all here. I would definitely want you to look at them because this is a new way that I invented myself, but it's very, very efficient. And I actually have done work, and maybe it's already in this PowerPoint, where I contrast the way how Alan Luke thinks of or thought of, because he's retired by now, of doing critical reading of text, and the way how actually the emotional analysis of text, actually how much powerful this method is. So I contrasted it. I think the two readings, and Alan Luke is in here, and probably that methodology is also here. Anyway, just look at that. This is very cool. I want you to see that. So I'm just going to download it, and I want you to say it. Because very often students don't understand. They think that technology is irrelevant and all of that. And I'm just trying to do this. Okay, so this is something this is a PowerPoint created by one of my ex-students. That was in 2012 or something. Anyway, I want you to see, and it is already indicated in module 4, I want you to say how you can use technology to actually support students in actually seeing connections between elements in text in order for themselves to have a more systematic approach to reading, and as a result to writing as well. So look what this person did. So you can't see the whole PowerPoint because it's how it is, but you can, so run this PowerPoint as presentation, it says, and let's have a look. So this is what she did 2013. And what she wanted to do, we just move on. What she wanted to do is to actually sensitize students to the difference between, to the generic organizational structures of different texts. And the text she chose was a scientific paper, like an article, and a newspaper, right? So both report about events, newspapers report about events, and the scientific report reports about the research inquiry, and yet they have very different structures. And certainly you could run with those, you could run with those texts, print them out for students and put them on the board, and do the old stuff, or you could be explaining till the cows come home the differences, and that's okay. But this is about innovation. And one of the things I wanted to say for assignment 2 is as follows. Please do not think that there are particular strategies for teaching children how to read and you cannot move beyond them. What I will show you, and especially I will link it and make it more clear in my lecture 2. In lecture 2, I'll give you principles, and everything else is a matter of your imagination. Right? So the principles is the evidence on which we sit. It's a little bit different than it is presented to you in other subjects, and especially by Hattie. But that's okay, because Hattie is, whatever. So basically what we want is principles based on an understanding of how brain learns and how children learn. And then these principles now open our imagination of how we could do it. So here, the principle is what Joanne did. She says, principle is that people learn by comparing and contrasting. Principle is that that will do, and by evaluating their own expectations. So as they compare and contrast, as children compare and contrast, they also evaluate their expectations. And sometimes you could actually do it differently, and the way she did that was by in showing to children this in practice. And I hope I can actually catch it, but it is that the screen capture will catch it. Okay, so what she has here on the left, she has a daily news, and what she's showing that the newspaper has big writing and big subtitles and all of that. Let's have a look. So now she has, you can't see it on the left. On the left margin, she says title, subtitle, headings. Look, I'll show you. Look at this, what she does. Title. On the left, it says title, but it's not captured by the screen. Okay, so title, it says that basically a scientific report has a title, it has a subtitle, it has headings, it has short paragraph and a table. Well, isn't it cute? I mean, you could create it for your students in no time. And if you do not know how to operate the PowerPoint, you go to YouTube, you look for PowerPoint tutorials, and there's 5,000 PowerPoints showing you different tricks of how to use PowerPoint creatively. Look at that. And then she goes and compares so students have just watched how the scientific article looks like, and now the newspaper. Look at this title, big title, like before, but there's no subtitle, there's no headings, there are no short paragraphs. Instead, we have long paragraphs. We have no table. Instead, we have photographs and a caption. Wow! Obviously, there's more happening in an article and in a newspaper article, like in a scientific paper and in a newspaper article. But wow! Wasn't it beautiful? And that's what I'm saying. You don't have to design it for my class, for my assignment, but I would like you to actually not to keep this for your own classes, this PowerPoint, download it and use it one day. And actually you could see what I'm actually supporting in this class, imagination. I didn't invent this one. She invented that. Um, Now what, so this is still, we're talking about the middle and high school here because we have students in this unit who are across different levels. So we've done Joanne. Now, Pachacucha, I would like you to have a look at the concept, and I would like you to look at the concept, yes. And I might actually do something that I was thinking I'll do next week, I'll do now, and that's this. Okay, so how's this relating to Pechakucha? Pechakucha is basically chit-chat in Japanese, right? And what Pechakucha is basically a student's presentation. Please find on Google. You go to pechakucha.org, and you'll find 3 million Pechakuchas from all around the world, right? And your students can actually create a network. I tried to create a network to link all the Pechakucha projects that I was supporting as a vice president of Asia Association for Computer Assisted Language Learning. And I can show it. So what I did, I designed different help systems. So if you type somewhere Anya Lion and then on Google and then plus Pechakucha, you probably find that. Anyway, so what we did was Pechakucha Indonesia. So you can't see it, but I created different, I'll just go back. You can see Pechakucha Australia, Pechakucha Cambodia, and so on. So what I tried to do is, so if you go to Indonesia, I had some people actually work in Indonesia on that concept, and students created some Pechakuchas, but because their English was poor, they just recorded. The English was, it wasn't the English the problem. What happened? The lady who actually did the research had recordings, video recordings of students presenting these Pechakuchas, these PowerPoints, but it was in Vietnam, and she was tiny person, and she was walking on the street to university, and someone snatched her bag together with the computer and all the recordings. So that was it. That's our research project went. But anyway, we were able to keep those PowerPoints because the students had them. So there, and you could actually create a Pechakucha site between your school and maybe some other school, or within a school, and also interacting with other schools on different subjects that are important the students raise. So these were very weird subjects that these people were fascinated by, as you can see. But there are issues there, and students might want to actually engage in those issues, and presentation is one of those skills that you would like to encourage your students to actually learn. But how is this relating to reading? I'll tell you any minute, except that I need to find a way of. Okay, so how it's relating to reading? It's very simple, because in order to actually produce a Pechakucha or even read other people's Pechakuchas, what you need to do is to have a way of a structure of how do you do that? How do you read critically other people's presentations or texts, and how do you produce your own text or presentations critically? So one of the things that I have created was that emotional analysis. I might talk about it briefly now, so you can actually go through it yourselves and through those different resources I produced or attached in module 4, but just to make sure that you understand what I'm actually communicating through that method, I might actually talk about it a little bit. And using this model will be fantastic for any forms of presentation. Okay, so here it is. Throughout my long career in academia, I have found out that it doesn't matter whether you write a PhD thesis, a book chapter or scientific article or a newspaper article, or you make a presentation about anything, the structure is always the same. Isn't it funny? The structure is always the same. And it's not the structure that they teach you in school, which is like beginning, middle, and an end, because you could not produce a poem by someone telling you, okay, do the beginning, middle, and the end, right? It just doesn't say anything. but you can actually create a poem using these things. But at this very moment, we'll just focus on this, okay? So every text has the same structure. If it is well written, it has the same structure. It sets the focus, then it comes up, some sort of issue arises, then people try to solve the issue somehow, then there's like exploration of sorts happening. Then there is someone is following a particular path in order to you know, resolve the problem. So it's called development. Then the resolution of sorts emerges, and then we have a moral of a story. For those people who do not understand what the moral is, it's basically the lessons we learned on the basis of the experience, right? And that's why I have, I'm never gonna find that stuff. You find everything that I'm listening to on the internet, because I'm gonna take you through everything. So I'm trying to find, okay, here I am. So if you actually listen to this video, so this is still in middle and high school. So this is where I talk about the emotional text analysis. And also if you actually, so I'm not sure if it's the same video, but there's a video here in a PowerPoint and so on. I worked with a girl, she was then 12, I think, and from Sydney. So I worked with a girl on a particular text and I applied the emotional analysis, and it was amazing the difference that it made to the student. So we have the thing here. So now what I wanted to say is as follows. You as a teacher, your role is to inspire thinking about each of those levels, right? There might be the right ways to express things, there might not be, but at this very moment, what I'm saying is your role is to support students or inspire students in critically reflecting on what these things involve, rather than actually giving them your answer. So anyway, first I looked at The Lion and the Mouse, because I've been working with that story for so long in so many different ways, so I got stuck with it. And I produced online, and you could actually do it yourselves. I produced actually an analysis of The Lion and the Mouse story in terms of all these levels or stages of a text. So basically, setting the focus, what did it involve? Well, the question really was, how did the, maybe better, what kinds of emotions was the author seeking to elicit in the audience? So basically you can see that there is a critical element here, because it is about how did the author use the words? How did the author use any structures? What did the author draw on in order to make you feel this way, right? So the question is, what emotions did the author want to evoke in you? Because text, we're looking at the text as an emotional construct, and it is, right? So I'll show you why it is. And now I'm just gonna look for Google. Anything on Google on my anything from Google. This is all the stuff I have open on my web. Okay, emotional, right? Text is emotional. Even posters are emotional. And in fact, you could actually analyze the cover of any story also in relation to the same processes, that list of processes that I have outlined. I looked also at another, where was it? Oh, cars, for example, right? So posters of cars. So there's one here. There's one here. So whether it's a poster or whether it's a text or a poem, I'm helping you to think of those constructs as emotional constructs. And you know that the poster wants to manipulate you because the poster ultimately wants you to do something, right? Either stop smoking, eat healthy, buy this car, right? Something like that. So here's my personal website and what I did. And the reason why I'm sharing it with you because it's a nice way to actually build your own resources. So you can see I used Google Sites. I don't know, Google Sites no longer as good as they used to be. So I'm teaching you about Google Sites, but I looked at Google Sites lately and I was completely lost with them. So anyway, but I still have a lot of old websites that actually function with the old system, so I don't know. Anyway, so I used Google Sites capacities to actually create a database. So for example, if I wanted with my students to analyze texts, I have some of them here already analyzed on my database, and I'll tell you why it's important. It is important because a text, for example, starts with one day a mighty lion, tired from hunting all morning, lay down under a shady tree to take a nap. How did the, how did the How did the author focus his story? How did he focus it? So what did he say? One day, a mighty lion. One day, a mighty lion. What emotions do you think did the author want to evoke in the audiences? What emotions? How does it make you feel? One day, a mighty lion. And he comes. I don't know. Whatever students scream will be right. Right? But here it comes. What's important is always to check. So the students will say mystery, or they will say intriga, so they will say we don't know. So what you could do if you had a database like I have and I showed you before, if you had a database like this where you could have a number of stories actually already analyzed, pre-analyzed, if you had that, that would be great. And my view is, as a teacher, you should have resources. They shouldn't be always the ones that you buy. They should be the ones that you actually create using your imagination and experience. So that would be good. You can also have resources like this. I mean, you could have actually stored a story analyzed in this way, the way I did that also, not just online, but in the form of a PowerPoint. So not necessarily like this, but actually more like what I have here. I have another story that I've done for you. All right, so another story. But basically, so if you had a few texts like this, or if you actually analyzed a few texts once a month, once every semester, after about 3 years, you have 6, 8, 10, 20, right? So you can actually employ also your older students from middle school to actually do things for little children to create more of those resources. And right, so all of a sudden you have a whole library in no time. But you could do that, and that's wonderful, and that supports independent learning. But another thing is to ask children, well, what emotions did the author want to evoke? How does it make you feel one day? And they would say something, and where else did we see such a beginning? And they would say, we don't know. What's important that you know, right? That's your preparation. Where else? Well, maybe once upon a time, there was this castle. Is it the same emotion? So what words are here? Once upon the time. Oh yes, those words. Once upon a time. You see? Now, that's why I actually discourage people from thinking about text as words organized by grammar, because once upon a time is not one word. And also in and of itself, it has no power and meaning. But when put in a story, one day a mighty lion, oh my God, this is so intriguing. This is so, I can't wait until I know what happens, right? So it's the whole thing that gives that one day a meaning. It's not just the word on its own. And then you could do further analysis. So this lion, right? So what he did, it tired from hunting all morning. Why did the author say that it tired? He was tired from hunting all morning. How does it make you feel? Sorry for him, right? We're sorry for him. Why are you sorry? What words was the author using that it makes you feel sorry? Well, he said that he was so tired he had to lie down. Yes. And how do you feel? How do you think the lion is gonna feel if he is tired? Ah, you see, children are running out of vocabulary, and that's the problem. It's a problem which is it's not just that a problem that I actually have spotted, but also people who actually work in psychology. We have in our School of Education, we have a whole discipline which is called play therapy, and those clinicians are saying the children have very limited emotional vocabulary. Well, how's the lion gonna feel? And how are you gonna help them now to think how the lion is gonna feel when he's tired? How's he gonna feel? So he's tired, so that's a state of the body. But how's he gonna feel? So you probably should have some way of representing different emotions. And, so you can go on Google and type emotions and vocabulary of emotions, and you get 5,000 of those. And you could actually, create some stickers or create some faces and so on. So one of the way, so you, because you yourself know the story, you know that that lion will feel frustrated, right? He will feel frustrated because he's tired. So, when people are tired, how do they feel? A bit what? Frustrated or anxious or, just not with it. Okay. So then what happens? We have disturbance. Some mice that lived at the foot of a tree scrambled over the sleeping lion to return to their home. Oh my God. Right? What emotions did the author want to evoke here in the audience? How do you feel? What emotions did he want to evoke in you, or did she want to evoke in you? Some mice that lived at the foot of a tree scrambled over the sleeping lion. Oh my God, how did the lion feel? Tired. And when you're tired, you feel frustrated. And what did the mice do? They were not good, were they? What did they do? They annoyed the lion. So now you have a great opportunity to ask the children, because you're building not just their vocabulary, which is the sort of 19th century concept. What you do, you're building connections. So in other words, where else have they seen someone being tired and someone else annoying? What other story? Right? So what happened then? So let's assume it was Pinocchio. I don't know, I'm making it up. So what did Pinocchio do? He wasn't, uh, he didn't lie down under a shady tree. What did Pinocchio do? He did something else. So we have another phrase, right? And what happened to him? So did someone scramble over his back? No. What happened? So we have other vocabulary here and so on. So this is how you actually, by analyzing text through emotions, you make it explicit to students that the text is not just the words that we can't remember and organizing those complicated sentences, but in fact you've got now a kind of supra organizing element that actually will help children connect a lot of words and a lot of stories together through emotions. And emotional linkage is extremely important because it is as old as life is, right? practically all animals and all creatures have that limbic system of sorts in whatever way. I mean, probably as Imordino Young says, even an ant, she claims, would have it. So it's sitting in us for billions of years. It organizes our behavior, and it's a wonderful way for children to actually use it as an organizing point for actually seeing relationships inside of the text and across the text. So you don't just focus on one text, what happened to the lion, but where else have we seen that? What words were then used? How did Pinocchio feel? Who did what to Pinocchio? What other stories? So you create those links, and the organizing thing is um, tired or frustrated or whatever. And then we have here, which is very interesting thing, and I discuss it in the one of those lectures that I have actually included to you, but I will word it again here. So when the lion is frustrated, when the mice scrambles over his back, how's the lion gonna react? Is he gonna be pleased? No. Have you ever seen else the lion being pleased, or any other person being pleased when someone did, disturb their sleep or something? Kind of refer back to other stories. And then, of course, he reacted when he saw the mice, right? He was gonna kill them. I could kill you, he says. But what are the children learning now? He didn't kill them. And what are the children learning? That, you know, people react, people have feelings, but there are ways of actually distancing ourselves to those feelings. One of them is to be aware that we are frustrated, that we are tired, therefore we can be frustrated, right? But it's okay. It's an okay emotion. But now we can actually think, oh, I am frustrated, I'm a little bit tired. So maybe I could think of my experience or my emotion of my tiredness differently. And most of all, I could think also of other people's reactions to events or even to me differently. We all have choices. And if someone else is not exercising those choices, I will exercise those choices. So the lion, even though tired, he could have not felt frustrated but satisfied after his morning hunt. Most possibly, maybe he hasn't actually found anything to eat. Well, then he might have been frustrated. But thank God he didn't kill the mouse, because he acted in what? Not in frustration, but in compassion. So you see what I'm saying? By referring to emotions, which are our most primitive and most basic way of relating to the world, we not only actually provide students or children with a very, very efficient way to organize actually stories, and I'll show you another trick very shortly, but also we build their self-awareness, and also we build their awareness of others. But at the same time, what we also do, we teach them that they have choices uh, for interpreting themselves and also for reacting. So that's good. And I've covered all of that in another video, so I'm just not going to talk about it much. But actually now, if you wanted to create a story, so not just read, because by reading you teach children how to segment a story and how to use those stages of setting focus, disturbance. You can see that disturbance here had two sentences, not just one, so it's not always just one sentence. So it's up to you how you will divide it. And then dialogue had two sentences in Lion's story, so there. So by actually focusing reading on those interpretive stages, you actually um, evoke a lot of discussion in relation to vocabulary, other ways in which people, other texts, other examples, students might actually go and look up. If it was possible actually to look up on the internet would be good. And you also provide them with a way to actually construct text. So for example, and I used it on my PhD students actually when they were doing presentation, and that's what you can use for pechakucha. So for example, how would you like to set the focus? And people go like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know what to say. Okay, what emotion would you like to evoke in actually in your audiences? Oh, and they look at me, like for example, my students looked at me and I thought, okay, why don't we just make it difficult? It's an academic presentation and you have to set the focus. And I said, why don't you just make people feel appalled? And you must be now thinking, like, why? I mean, it's an academic, it should be neutral, right? No, and I was thinking, like, why don't you appall them? Why don't you just make them angry? What I was trying to do is to test the model and see whether we could actually, just use it as I am describing it to you, and also use it in ways that are less kind of good girls or good boys kind of story, but sort of be a little bit more aggressive, more creative, more therefore inspiring maybe as a result. And we did that, and it was astonishing. But the problem we had is that my students, even though they've passed all the tests to be doctoral students in Australia and they write very well their academic chapters, when it came to actually producing a presentation where we actually try to set the focus and use a range of emotions, they couldn't do it. They didn't have the vocabulary. They didn't have, I mean, this way of actually making a presentation tested their range in English, and they didn't have it. I mean, how do you make someone appalled? They had no idea. So if you were with students to do that, we would have to have a look. Whereas if we see someone that the story started in this, way, but actually made the audience appalled or angry or upset or disappointed, any of those negative things, right? So what I'm saying is it was a wonderful task. And in the world where we focus all the time on sentences and words, and my students do perfectly well in it, but when we were trying to do a presentation which was riveting, engaging, and bringing out the worst and the best in the audiences, right? We couldn't do, I mean, we did that because I have enough of a range in English to actually help my students, but they couldn't do it. And this is where we learned that if we wanted to teach people in Indonesia to do things like that, we actually would have to produce a very rich, like you as well, environment, a literacy environment in English, whereby they need to now explore how different emotions in different texts are actually expressed in order to achieve what, and then we could actually see how we could integrate those learnings from those texts to actually now generate our own presentations or text. That was an amazing thing to experience, so I'm sharing it with you. So this much. Okay, so what I also wanted to just to briefly, I also did story here about how the mother kangaroo got a pouch, right? So that how the kangaroo got its pouch, and here you have a link on YouTube to this thing. And I put these things in emotion as a question mark because, as I said, there is no black and white here. And the best thing is when children are actually telling you what this way, so what emotion is the author trying to evoke in them. So when they tell you, whether worried or something, you can ask them, how do you know? Which is exactly what you did in assignment 1. How do you know? Where else have you seen it? Right? What other text? How was it said? So you do on your children, if you want to do reading comprehension, you do on them what I did on you and to you in assignment 1. Oh, really? The mother kangaroo, does it make you feel worried? You feel worried, concerned about mother kangaroo? Why? Because the word is, the little Joey was a real handful. Oh, really? Does it make you worry? Have you ever seen any other text like that someone was a handful and that made us worried because it might have said that maybe mother kangaroo might lose the baby or he will run away? Where else have you seen a concern of this kind? Right? And people are coming up with stories. And if not, then searching for them. The library is handy. You might even bring some books with you to actually facilitate that research, right? So there are resources out there. All we have to do is to bring them to the class and actually give them a reason to use those resources. And this is what I call an exploratory learning, an exploratory reading comprehension, right? Exploratory. It's also critical, because where else? You have to contest your assumptions. You need to confirm, verify somewhere else, expand, because someone else might have other ideas. Another thing that I'm not sure if I said it anywhere else, and I do say it in here, but this story about the mother kangaroo, and you will find stories like this, just goes on and on and on. It just never ends. So you can see that the dialogue development and dialogue development just goes on and on and on, over and over again. Two aspects of a story get repeated over and over again before we actually have a resolution and the moral. And that's exactly the point. When I was giving this presentation about this kangaroo pouch in Cambodia, I asked English teachers, they were all English, so they were teaching in a Cambodian international school. And I asked them, why do you think the story? So what's the moral of the story? Because in this specific story, the moral is actually not stated, although maybe a little bit. I don't know, maybe it is stated, but nevertheless, I asked them, what's the moral of a story, right? In The Lion and the Mouse, the moral is very clear. The moral is, sometimes little creatures can be helpful to big creatures, right? Sometimes do not underestimate people. But in here, like, so the mother kangaroo was very patient, and then she got the pouch in order to hold her little Joey in the pouch rather than worry about him. Anyway, I asked the people, the teachers, so what's the moral, and also, what's the moral? And I asked them also about the relationship between the moral of the story and why the story was so dragging forever. And if the wombat was looking, because if you read the story, you'll find out it's about the wombat who was actually the spirit. If the spirit was looking for a not just most patient, because patient is, we need to read these things in and translate them into, more expansive vocabulary, because as a poem cannot use all the words. But most patient meant also most loving. And love is enduring. Love is patient. Love is ongoing. Love is commitment. And that's why the story dragged on and went on and on and on. With the same sort of sequence repeated over and over again before we got to resolution. Because it actually showed us how patient and how loving Mother Kangaroo was, right? So that even the structure of the story reflected the moral of the story, right? So they were aligned. They were basically, there's a word for it, but I don't want to use it because it's too sophisticated. But they were, it's called, they were in a metaphoric relationship. But we could say that they were matching one another. Right, the story is so lengthy because the moral says love is like that. Love is enduring. No matter what, you have to still keep on keeping on. Okay, so that's that. So I want you to have a look at all of that stuff. Now, so for Pechakucha, I mean, you can see how useful it would be for you to actually use these stages of story construction in relation to emotions, how to assist your students actually in constructing a pechakucha, or even analyzing other pechakuchas online, and then see how you could actually use the emotions and the ways they express them, as examples of how to respond to it in order to actually create your own. Okay, so that's that. And now, what I wanted to say is that early childhood phonological awareness. I would like you to read these things here and also watch this video. There are a number of examples out there. There's a number of examples out there with internet whereby I actually which I actually want you to use those particular what I call 21st century resources for doing phonological awareness. Because at this, until now we had quite primitive models for actually teaching children phonological awareness, but I think that nowadays we could actually bypass it. And I'm not going to teach to you today now how to do it. I might actually commit more time next time when we talk to each other in my last lecture for this semester, which is in a few days. What I want you to do is actually click on it and listen. So there are two software products which are free that I want you to use or think of. One is TalkTyper. I'm not going to open it, but basically TalkTyper allows you to actually talk to the screen. Okay, I'm going to open it. Ready for dictation. Okay, I'm not sure whether you heard it, but I can say, so imagine a 5-year-old and say, I love my mom. I don't know. I'm not sure it's working with, at the same time as I am give permission to use microphone. And how do I do that? Can you tell me? I think that when I'm recording the screen, some things are not working. Dictate. I say some things are not working when I'm doing that. Okay, so if I said I love my mom, the computer would write I love my mom. Oh my goodness. And how do you know the computer got the right got the spelling right? Right? So I probably somewhere explained to you in some of those links here. I'll make sure that you have them. I think there will be one of those three or all of those three that I want you to actually listen to. And there I provide pretty good examples of how to do what I call modern 21st century phonics, right? So I am not saying that other games are out and other exercises are out, but what I want students is actually to meaningfully engage in an interactive way in order to actually develop systematic understanding of how things actually relate in English. So you've got those 3 videos, have a look at it. That. And what else do we have here? This is more about the reading comprehension. I mean, when I was talking about the children in the middle and high school, I just had one video here, but I said that please go into the section of primary school literacy, which is here, and just have a look at more of those things. Now, I included here examples from Scootle and my evaluation of those examples and showing how actually useless they are. Because they do not teach exploratory, compare and contrast, see differences between emotions in different contexts and different ways of representing things. They all are into a template. And unfortunately, template is like not teaching people anything, is reducing them to basically 19th century industrial workers who just had to read the manual, and that's why they were reading English, right? And obviously they weren't doing just that, but that's what they were being prepared for. But people went on and read stuff and were educating themselves no matter what. Now we have, other than this, we also have, so other than how to read, like how to analyze a text and how to actually, imaginative ways, how to produce imaginative ways to sensitize children to specific genre characteristics, which is like that, and also how to support what I call 21st century 21st century phonics. So other than that, 21st century phonics, I also talk about this in this paper here with Amy Norman. But other than that, what I also have are some other imaginative things that you could, and of course there are games online, so that's fine. Phonemic games online are quite fine if used in context, and that's what we'll be talking about another time when we meet. so that, and you have here something else. So you have here sheep game and Sam game, and there's another one that I didn't upload here, but I use. So I'll just give you the story about how they are structured, and you can think for yourselves one day how you would actually create your own games. So what it is here? So let's have a look whether I can play it. So he says, I think you can hear it. Hello, my name is Sam, he says, right? Oh my goodness, and look at this. What is your name? And Sam doesn't even need to speak, but Sam is learning ICT because you will want him to actually go to insert voice. Somewhere there is voice. Where is it? So you go on insert, right? Audio, record audio, and say, my name is Anya. Okay. I hope like crazy that got recorded. Nowadays it doesn't look as cool as in the past. So, okay, well, let's play it now. Let's see what happened, okay? Oh my goodness, we had in class a boy who was, I don't know, 6, and he was from an Arabic country somewhere. That was a postgraduate course, and the mother came with the baby. Jesus, that guy, he would never stop because I was trying to explain the thought behind it, and he was playing with it, and he was just going nuts. Not just because it was fantastic, but he was also bored, but at least it worked. So what you now have is a dialogue. What is your name? says Sam. And then you're on recording. My name is Anya. Right? You now have a dialogue. Isn't it lovely? So now what I did, all of those are games. And I think that PowerPoint you have, right? So he says, right? So he says, these are the games I play. So I made my husband say all these words, right? But you can make, a child say these words, do the recording. These are the games that I play. So who actually has a younger voice, right? And then they can play games. There's nothing wrong with that. So they played the games. He says, oh, okay, but what I didn't show you, oh my goodness, I didn't show you something. Something was really important. So when he says, these are the games I play, right? So what happens now, you see, I created a video using the same software I'm using now, Snagit, and now Sam explains the game he's playing. And in the past, you could actually build in, YouTube videos into PowerPoint. I don't know, it's possible nowadays. Start. What happened? Something happened. Okay, it's slowing down. Okay, so to begin, click on start. So Sam is actually talking about how he played this particular game. It's an egg, and look at this. So there are baskets. So the idea is to get the egg into baskets. So I'm not showing it to you as a specifically reading related exercise. Oh my goodness, it's specifically designed to make things happen, right? So now you play now, he says. So anyway, but I'm not showing it to you as a reading thing, but I'm showing it to you but to actually inspire imagination. So Sam was playing, and he was taking the child through how to play, how he was playing. So he was saying, I clicked here, I did that. Now he says, you play now. And then the person can go to these games and play. And the next thing is, what happened? And now the child can think, oh my God, what happened? I don't know. did you click on start, talking about the game with eggs, and the kid doesn't know whether he clicked on start, so he can go, oh, there, oh, this should, okay. I can't get to my PowerPoint because because the thing is that the screen recording was actually not helping me. Anyway, so did you click on start, and then what else happened? So did you click on start? So I have to go back to what happened. So we play again. Looks like that I won't be able to get those back buttons, which is a little bit worrying. Okay, so did you click on start, and did you see the X? So as I showed you before, every time there's a question mark, the child can go back and see. Oh, did you see the X? And there are X. One on the top, one on the in the middle, one on the bottom. Now go back. Can I go back? Oh yeah, I went back. Were the eggs in baskets? You know, so the kid can actually check. Were they in baskets? Yeah, they were in baskets. It was all good, right? How many eggs did you see? Okay, next. And what I have here is a situation as follows. That this is again a dialogue, right? Oh my goodness. Maybe I could go back. Sorry, because I'm using this thing, it's really weird. So that was our first dialogue, right? And now we have a second dialogue. And the kid can record themselves. Yes, I did. What happened? I did well. Yes, I did. And if a kid doesn't know what to respond, because the kid has to record themselves, I have recorded the response of a child already. So the teacher says, did you click on start? And Max records himself. Yes, I did. But if Max doesn't know what to say here, yes, and can go here. Oh, I did. Oh my goodness, now I can say it. Now I want, okay, so you can see. So again, a person can hear themselves in the dialogue. The reason why I'm showing this to you is because, not because it's a reading thing, but because I'm showing to you how much you can do in PowerPoint, and you can develop resources like this, exercises like this yourselves, just by using simple recording function, links to games, and also obviously the way I did that, you know, the returns, each of those items, when I click them, look at the hyperlink. So edit hyperlink. So this one is specifically, when I click on this one, it will take me to slide 16 or something, right? So that's how you do that. You hyperlink within the PowerPoint, and it takes you to different slides. So that's how you control it. But anyway, so did you see that? That was the loudness button. Did you see that? I will never get it again. It's one of those things that happens when you can only see it once in your lifetime. Oh yeah, here. Oh, okay, so you could make it louder. All right, so that's one game. And so I wanted you to see how much you can do actually. And I'm doing that because I'm not sure if I produced links to these things online. So this is another thing I produced. So another student of ours, this is Natasha Hardy. She produced these beautiful drawings. Look at that. There's a whole community. Right, so you know how you have online those separate games, like a game about garden, a game about geography, a game about this, and a game about that, and all of them in isolation, they make absolutely no sense and they are boring. So what I did, I will put up a link somewhere among those games. I'll put up a link to the story, to the YouTube recording where I talk about it. But basically, in principle, what I did. So let's have a look where it is. Okay, we're starting here, right in the beginning. So they have the children open a game, and it says meet our village, and you can find us in New South Wales, and that's gonna theoretically take us to a game. right? It would take us to a game where we would play where is Australia or whatever, where's New South Wales. So there, we've done that. I don't know why I couldn't get the game. Let's have a look. Sometimes they, by the time I open, so basically I added hyperlink, so that gives me the game. Maybe the game no longer exists. Let's have a look. Does it exist? Oh, it doesn't exist. That's why we couldn't get that. Because I know I created that game centuries ago, so no wonder it died out. So people remove stuff, unfortunately. But the idea is that underneath each, so this is a picture, this is a community. All right, so we go next. This is a community, so you can see, you can't see. This is a garden, and this is some house here. This is another house. This is another house with a boy and a girl. This looks like a shopping center. This looks like a building area. This looks like lots of children from different countries, and this looks like the adults who live in the community. Now, what I did, I picked a lot of games that were I will put this online. I don't think you have that game on your thing, because I didn't think it was about reading, but it's really conceptual for you to build, to sort of stimulate your imagination. What I did underneath each of those arrows, under those arrows, they all have a hyperlink there. I think that this one should have a hyperlink. Well, if it doesn't matter. This one should have hyperlink. Okay, so edit hyperlink. Okay, it will take you to another thing, and then there will be a hyperlink to a game. So basically, each of those arrows has is one way or another links with a game. So this one will be a game about shopping. This one will be a game about what these children do at home. This one will be about gardening and so on. And this one will be about each of the uh, about the jobs that each of those adults does, and this one will be about different things these people cook. This one will be about building a hospital and so on. So you can see now, if I ask children to do a game on building the hospital, they would do it and be bored. If I ask them to do a game on building and look at what garden looks like, that'd be boring. But now when these games are actually connected within this picture of a community, now they are exploring community through those games, and that's interesting, right? So you can okay, so basically I'm uh, giving you some ideas for your future thinking. So if they go to garden, it takes them to this place. Now if you are clicked on this, you see it will take them to some game on garden, and this one will take them to some game on I don't know, on house, and this is another one, right? And the next one, look at this. This is about shopping. This is about something else. This one doesn't have a link at all. It's okay, but there were other links here. I must have lost them. So each of these things is connected to something, and these are different jobs. So it's my sister. What does my sister do? There's a game somewhere there. All right, so my sister is doing something. Anyway, I'm closing this so because you can actually do it yourselves. Find some free online games and actually integrate things. So I just wanted to take you through the resources and why these resources are there on our site, so that you can actually, I have no idea where we are. Okay. So that you can actually see the reason why they're there. So this another one which we have here, another game. I know it looks whatever it looks, but it's actually, so you can, I mean, this is about supporting English learning because that's my specialty, but and it's kind of more integrated. I'm just trying to make this run. All right. But you can actually create things, resources like this yourselves, to support reading. So this one, again, there's this function of showing video through PowerPoint. I don't think it's any permissible. I use author, like the person who writes things, authorstream.com to do that. So there's a song. I'm sure you can hear it. Right? Wonderful. So we have a song. Now, when everything fails, I always have my own recording. Well, I can't sing, so I made my husband sing. Oops. Wow. How do I go back? I need to go back. So where is this file? Why isn't this singing? Okay, so there. So I've got him there. And now look what I did. You can see how many different slides I have here. Okay, and I'll show you why. You get it? So what it does, look what it does. So you can use it for reading as well. You can't see that it says give me, and then you can say to children like give me what? Home, right? English and every language is like this. We write home, but actually when we speak it, it comes out like home, 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 right? That's why foreigners have problems with it. Okay, so give me, how would you spell it? We don't know. This is how you spell it. Among the gum trees, gum trees. And how would you spell it? This is how you spell it. And so on with lots of what? Plum trees. Oops. Or two. You see? So anyway, so that's another game that you could actually think of how you could actually in your future actually create something like that as a resource to actually have an exploratory and fun-based and something exercise. So there you go. So that's what I wanted to do today, is for you to feel confident that there is stuff there, that we have 21st century phonics, and that you can actually see how to think about it by doing all of those videos. That we do cover reading comprehension with critical learning. We do criticize the old guys on the way out, or they already out, like Professor Alan Luke, whom I know personally. And we move forward with a different way, and that we're thinking about contextualizing those well, anyway, so there, so what we think differently, that actually we've developed now an emotional approach for text analysis, and that emotional text analysis is actually has a number of advantages by developing students' emotional vocabulary. What children learn is a number of things. They learn self-awareness and awareness of others. They learn now that they have choices in choosing in the ways in which they respond to other people, because by developing emotions and being more aware of themselves and of emotions and of their reactions, and they become more aware of the choices they have. And also emotions prove to be a much better way of actually uh, organizing or remembering how to express things, right? Because by focusing students on ways of expressing frustration or expressing joy or expressing something else, some other emotion, what happens, this is just in one word, it's just like one node, but underneath has many contexts, so that when we actually focus, it's a very powerful way of organizing students' vocabulary and capacities to actually express themselves, and also um, comprehend what other people say. And emotions enable us also to give us a question in relation to which we can explore text. Because before, what we had was what? Without emotions, we say, and so now young Joy. What does young mean? It means like us, little, which says nothing. But if we actually are analyzing resolution, so we are analyzing the emotion of the resolution, it's like a relief, maybe, right? Relief, or whatever emotion could be here, but we are feeling in this resolution. And how else? So, what makes us feel relief? And now young Joy is okay, right? That's what it says. Now young Joy has a place where he can rest. He is okay. And whereas we see the emotion of relief? And now we actually are using more words. So it's not anymore this means that, because it never did in any event. Meanings are always associations, and they broad connections. So what we're doing now is building those connections and getting more words out of students. So that's great. So emotions is a more powerful organizing element of text. So we've done that, and I would like you to actually have fun with these things, testing them, and start thinking in an innovative way about ways in which you could respond to the assignment. I will accept all kinds of innovation. Even if you develop just a game, I would be happy with it too. If you can actually justify it and tell me how you would work with that game, I'll be very delighted if you just did the game. So the idea of just having lessons might not be always just the only way to respond to the assignments. But in my case, I'll be happy with that. So see how you can develop yourself as an imaginative teacher. And remember Jo Humphrey, how she did that genre thing? That was useful too, wasn't it? That was fantastic. Yes, yes. So there. I might finish for now, and that will do. And I will, in a few days, I will produce this assignment about how we will actually plan our design. And that would be it for the year, for the semester. And then we will just meet on LearnLine, and we will be just commenting on each other drafts, completing the drafts, and by the 30th of May we should be done. Thank you so much.